Looking out over all of us gathered together, I want you to know that it is beautifully precious that we are here this evening. Truly. Called by our tradition, we honor our memories, we live out our Jewish lifestyles, we demonstrate our religious or spiritual feelings being present tonight in a community of our people. Here in our synagogue community, we manifest God's presence through the ritual we enact together and in the prayerful thoughts we each know in our hearts. Like few other places in our lives, this is a space in which we take seriously the ideas of Judaism. We explore. We engage. We immerse ourselves in the ongoing philosophical and theological conversation that is Jewish interpretation. Here we don't simplify. Rather, we amplify. Our desire is understanding. Our goal is meaning. Here we are resolved that even more of life's blessings, goodness, and purpose may be ours to discover as we observe the unique sanctity of Yom Kippur. Truly, looking out over all of us here, it is truly precious that we are here this evening. And to each of you and all of you, thank you. I wonder, though, if there isn't another reason some of us choose to be here. Our faith. Or more precisely stated in Hebrew, emunah. We are here because we trust in the religious beliefs and ideals, the visions and the dreams of Judaism. Concepts cherished by the Jewish people through the ages and taught in the name of God. Now, if you're familiar with the word emunah, you'll most often find it translated as faith. But faith is an English term. It's not really a Jewish concept. The word faith comes to us from Christian translations of the Bible. In Greek or Latin, faith meant loyalty. Translated into English, loyalty became belief. The Hebrew term emunah means trust. Emunah is the conviction we demonstrate by being here tonight. We express belief in God less by what we imagine and more by what we come to know. Less by what we profess and more by what we do. This emunah, this religious trust in what we know, allows us to hold to some common beliefs because of shared experiences and memories. When we speak of faith in God, this is what we mean. Not things we imagine, but experienced individual and collective truths upon which we depend. Emunah is trust. And let me explain for a moment where this comes from. The first time the word emunah appears in the Torah, it describes Moses' hands as trustworthy or steady. Vayehi yadav emunah, as Moses raised them to lead the people on their march. We develop such emunah, such trust, through communication. As Moses signals to Israel their direction, so must we each hear and talk with one another. At home and in community, we trust when we understand. At the Torah's end, Moses describes God as El Emunah, a trustworthy God, ve'ein avel, never false but truly reliable. We develop that kind of emunah, such trust, through our relationships. As Moses teaches Israel to see God as a dependable source of inspiration on their journey, so do we have to be present for each other. We trust the people we like. We trust the people we come to know. The prophet Jeremiah speaks about people who do justice and are mevakesh emunah, those who seek integrity. And we develop such emunah, such trust, through integrity. As Jeremiah demands the people hold themselves up to a higher and proper standard, so do we have to be trustworthy and honest with ourselves and all the people in our lives. And finally, in rabbinic usage, a person who was an amanah was someone upon whose word or signature you could rely. Like when you say Amen after every bracha, what you are saying is, I trust in, I rely in, I have a concept about that belief. Trust develops in relationships. It grows out of situations we've been in. It reflects memories we hold, perceptions we carry, and the gut instincts we rely on. As a result, it's only natural. In some, we trust more than others. In us, some trust more or less. Here are 4 words for you to remember all of this by. These 4 words are, for me, a religious refrain. You may have heard them before. You will definitely hear them from me again. 4 words. Faith is not fact. Faith is not fact. Faith is the measure of my ideals. It's the way I believe things ought to be. Quite often, the facts with which I live demonstrate a different reality. The essential purpose of my faith is to bring its truths to bear on the facts I know. And the goal of my faith is to draw those facts I know closer to the ideal vision of God's presence in which I believe. Naturally, we speculate about what we don't know for sure. Our curiosities and sense of wonder or worry take over. And you and I know our powers of imagination are quite significant. How often do we conjure up things not in evidence because we need to fill in the information void? When we don't know what someone said about us, when we are in an uncomfortable situation, we guess. We tell ourselves what others are thinking. We convince ourselves that things will be all right, or worse, that there's a problem. Though there's no factual evidence, it's my imagination. We analyze why someone said or did what they did. We suggest what an author or artist intended. We try to figure out, why did the coach call that play? Some of our beliefs are rooted in experience. Other beliefs are ideas we imagine or hope. Faith is not about the known or the unknown knowable. Faith is about that which is unknowable but believed. So many years ago, I was the guest teacher in a high school comparative religions course. Each semester, the teacher asked me to answer questions about Judaism. But he also asked me to present one particular idea about all of religion that matters to me. So every semester, I would explain to the students, faith is not fact. We spoke about the Bible, how it is not a record of what actually occurred, but rather a religious memory of meaning, not facts. What matters, for example, is not how Israel left Egypt, but what that narrative means for our lives and our world. Good discussions in this class for many years of these courses. We spoke about our different ancestors' memories and beliefs through the ages, the insights and wisdom of their experiences we grow to respect, which help us to seek the same from our own. We have to recognize that every individual, every family, every community, every group, every nation or people carries its own particular and unique memories. That's why different people around the world have different beliefs about God. That's also why we share our beliefs in congregation and community. Together we can hold to some common beliefs as Jews and have a forum for asking our many questions. Our history, our tradition provide us with both the vocabulary and the responsibility for defining and discussing what we believe. In that comparative religions classroom with those high school students, we discussed the vocabulary of human characteristics that we apply to God. We can only ascribe to God sensations we know. It is the foundation for the faith that we have. Yet, in attempting to describe the eternal in temporal terms, we create the ultimate paradox. We forget that our words about God are symbols bearing no resemblance in life to the mystery of God's reality. God's realm is the intangible of soul and spirit, not the corporeal of body and matter in which we live. We also spoke about faith having its limits. Ethics, conscience, history, common sense, human decency, science, these are all checks on the purposes and meanings we ascribe to what we believe. An Orthodox scholar, Rabbi Eliezer Berkowitz, explained this idea many years ago when he said, "I cannot overlook the fact that no matter how strongly I believe it, it is still only my personal belief." And so it was only natural to wonder with those high school students how many conflicts between individuals, within families, or between peoples and nations would be more easily resolved if this humility attached to what everyone believes. Whatever truths or values our experiences may teach us, we are each privileged to glimpse but a small aspect, a very small aspect of the whole truth. Faith is the confidence to live our ideals. Faith is not fact. Well, at the end of every semester, the students had to take a final exam. And that final exam included this question: who said faith is not fact? Your answer choices were Moses, Jesus, Buddha, or Rabbi Shulman. My mother was so proud. This sacred evening, I want you to understand this. Faith is a grounded idealism. Faith lifts us up. Faith inspires us. It touches our hearts because it informs our minds. Faith is the courage to live according to the right in which we believe. And if tomorrow we discover a fact or situation contradictory to the tradition we have, our beliefs will endure while our understanding of their origin may grow and change. This emunah, this religious trust in what we know and hope for, keeps us engaged and involved in the ongoing discovery of what it means to be Jewish and the reality of being human. But we also have to be careful. Our religious beliefs cannot be used to justify either our prejudices or our preferences. Belief in God is a challenge to our baser instincts. Faith enlightens our conscience. Reflecting about God ought to inspire us or possibly perplex us, but it shouldn't diminish our character or our sensitivity toward others, even those others with whom we differ profoundly. As Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel teaches, intellectual honesty is one of the supreme goals of the philosophy of religion. Hypocrisy rather than heresy is the cause of spiritual decay. This evening, I am arguing for faith's limits, that beyond the Bible stories, God is reflected in what ought to be, in how we can be or do better, not only in what we want to confirm for ourselves or what has come to be or what we think. So how do we decide what we believe in? How do we decide in what to trust? We may glean insights about God from our people's religious history, from our parents and their perspectives, or from others we meet in life. Still, it is only through our own experiences, from what makes sense to us, from what inspires us, that God becomes real to us. Belief in God emerges out of personal experience, not professed philosophy. Other insights we may come to are concepts we imagine or hope, but as faith are not fact. Thinking about God is confronting that which is unknowable, but from our individual vantage points, believable. Seeking sources of meaning in ideas and ideals as we each make our way through the challenges and complexities of life. But we all know the experiences we each collect in life are different. And whatever truths or values our experiences may teach us or lead us, as I said earlier, we are each privileged to glimpse but a small aspect of any greater truth. 4 words. Probably the title of a book someday. Faith is not fact. I've been thinking about and teaching this idea for many, many years. If more people in the world, and certainly more people in the world of religion, could make the same assertion about what they believe, I believe the result would be a shared vision for more human dignity and goodness in this world. If religion and faith teach us anything, it ought to be humility. Take this to heart. Every time you celebrate a sacred moment, light a candle for Shabbat or a holiday, every time you make kiddush over wine, every act of tzedakah, every gesture of kindness and compassion, every time you enter the synagogue to pray, to learn, and to connect, every conscious expression of your Jewish self is a demonstration of hope and emunah, an act that trusts in and celebrates human dignity and goodness. Says the psalm for these days of awe, mine is the faith, mine is the trust. Mine is the trust that I shall surely see the eternal God's goodness in the land of the living. Faith is not fact. Faith leads us to the truths that matter most in life. Faith is not fact. Faith is trust, emunah, and the confidence to live our ideals. Gimar Chatima Tova.